Good morning and welcome to Dreaming of the Outdoors. My name is Andrew Miller and I run Dreaming of the Outdoors, which is an outdoor walking, coaching, lifestyle coaching and mental health support company. Designed to get people like you out into the outdoors and enjoying the outdoors and the benefits, the mental health benefits, the physical benefits of that. And if you run a business, we can do some business coaching. If you have some issues going through your life that we can work through, we've got some life coaching and also thinking about your mental health issues as well. Straight into the video. What we're going to do is look at different parts of what you need to do when you are going out on a wild camp, and I'm going to talk you through some of the things that I provide or that you need to think about buying before you make that first leap into your first wild camp. So we're going to go through a few different bits: carrying systems, shelter systems, sleeping systems, cooking systems, and then the general stuff that would make your life a little bit easier when you're in the field at your campsite. So first off, carrying systems. I've got 3 rucksacks on the table. Let me just put that one to one side and this one to one side. This is a really old, this one is probably 10 to 15 years old, 40 litre rucksack. 40 litres might not sound a lot, however, I can go away for 3 or 4 days, 4 or 5 days with a 48 litre rucksack. So depending on the kit that you have, 40 litres is actually just about right. From buying a rucksack point of view, don't go out and buy 60, 70, 80 litre plus rucksacks. You will be tempted to put loads and loads of stuff inside, which increases the weight, which decreases your enjoyment of the walk. So I always go for the smallest size rucksack I can. So 40 litres is probably the smallest size that I would do. I know some people may go a little bit smaller. And there's a little thing when you are camping and walking, the smaller and lighter the equipment, the more expensive it is. So there's always a trade-off. But things to look for generally in a rucksack. Something to put stuff in on the outside, that is always preferable, so you can shove wet clothes, wet tents into the outside so it doesn't get into the inner. We've got pockets on the outsides, we've got straps on the outside to strap things to, we have a top lid, perhaps with various compartments as well. So this particular one has several compartments. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3 inside there. We've got great hip belts that will hug the hips. When we're wearing the rucksack, the hip belt sits just above the hips, and it takes the weight from the shoulders down onto your hips, so you're not struggling so much with your back. We've got nicely padded shoulder straps that can be adjusted as and when to tighten the load a little bit closer to your back to make it easier. We may have a system that we can use to increase the size of the back length so it will fit your back a little bit more. So as I said, most rucksacks will have things like that. So as I said, 10 to 15 years old. This particular brand, this Crag Hopper Dynamics, special place in my heart. I spent nearly 2 weeks in the Jordanian desert using the 50 litre version of this, walking around on an adventure training exercise when I was back in the military. So just put that to one side. This is, who are we? This is, I think this is a Berghaus. Yeah, this is a Berghaus 50 litre rucksack. This is possibly 4 or 5 years old. Pretty much the same features as the Crag Hopper. Top lid, compartment, no compartment on the inside, pockets, straps, no external pocket, which was a little bit awkward when I used this last in anger, which was about 3 years ago, and I camped on top of Mount Snowdon in the Snowdonia National Park for my 50th birthday. Horrendous weather, horrendous winds, but lovely and enjoyable. Hip belt again, shoulder straps. It's quite hard to do this on this one, but we have an adjustable back as well. So again, really nice rucksack. Again, 50 litres. Anything more than that, I think more than 55 litres, and you're going to start to just struggle with the weight that you would carry. So on the outside of this, we've also got some connections for walking poles, perhaps ice axes, that kind of thing if you want to do that stuff, but pretty much the same as the older Crag Hopper. Coming on to the final one, and this is a pretty much bang up to date Osprey Exos 48 litres, and if you come on my wild camping experiences, my adventure experiences, this is the rucksack that you will be using. Mesh pocket on the outside, excellent. Really deep pockets on the outside as well. We have a top lid with a nice inner and some mesh. This top lid, by the way, can also detach to make it a little bit lighter, a little bit easier if you don't need to carry so much weight. So the flap goes over, plenty of space inside. Hip belt again. Now this hip belt doesn't look as padded as the previous ones. It still does the job. It is actually padded. It's a little bit more modern, therefore the materials used are a little bit more modern. Great set of shoulder straps to do it again. They might not look as thick and padded, but they are completely adjustable to suit. Only thing I can't do with this is adjust the back length where it's fixed. However, it does have a much more comfortable back area. This mesh area keeps it away from the back of the rucksack so that the airflow allows you to perspire a lot more. So this is a really comfy sack. I can go away with this rucksack 4 or 5 days carrying everything I need to, and it's only 48 litres. So you come on one of my walks, this is what you'll get. If you are bringing your own equipment, that's absolutely fine. I don't mind loaning you some of mine if we can't get yours to work or figure it out. So things to look for in a rucksack. Make sure that the size of the rucksack in litres is just enough for what you want to take, plus a few little luxuries and extras. Make sure it's got pockets on the outside, make sure it's got straps on the outside as well. Quite a few rucksacks will have straps at the bottom to strap things to the bottom, so tents or roll mats perhaps. I prefer to strap roll mats or tents to the sides rather than the bottoms. You want to go for definite hip belts. Some will have hip pockets, which are quite useful. The older version of this had hip pockets. I've never missed them, so none of my previous rucksacks have had them. Nice shoulder straps, and these have got a little bit of a curve in to take that weight and away from the main chest. All of them have a sternum strap which goes across between the two shoulder straps up there, cuts across and just drags them a little bit so that they're not digging into your arms. Doesn't need to be too tight because it starts to restrict your breathing, but it makes it a really much more comfortable fit. This is a lightweight pack. I'll put the weights down below. This would be my pack of preference, at least half the weight of the Craghopper's rucksack for not much more volume. So if I'm going to do longer walks, the lighter the kit, the easier the walk will be, the more I enjoy it. It's not to say I don't use this, I still do. This is a very robust rucksack. This is a little bit more delicate rucksack, but it's just choosing the right kit for the right job. So the next section we're going to look at is shelter systems. We've got our rucksack, our carrying system. Now we need something to shelter us from the elements. So first one is, this looks like it's in 2 pieces because it pitches in 2 pieces. And I put it inside 2 separate dry bags. That helps me identify which piece I need to take out first, and it also makes sure that the outer, which is this bit, when it gets wet, I can make sure I can put it away. I can dry it off as much as I can, but if it's still hoofing it down outside, it needs to go into a dry bag, so I can put it into my rucksack, or I can attach it to the outside of my rucksack anywhere. I don't tighten these up when they're in storage. I don't want to damage them. So this one is an Msr Hubba Hubba 2. There's a link down below to me using that. Pretty lightweight tent, 2-person tent, 2 people who are really good friends, by the way, i.e. it's a bit of a squeeze for 2 people. It's a lovely tent, plenty of room. So it comes in 2 parts. An outer tent, the inner tent with all of the mesh and the ground sheets, etc. there, and a set of poles. And along with every tent we also have pegs. So I tend to use the same set of 12 pegs for all of the tents that I use. Really nice, really lightweight. Poles will go onto the outside of my rucksack. Pegs will go into the pole bag. These, the inner and the outer, would go into the rucksack. So the next tent I'm going to look at, keep the pegs there, is a lightweight tent that uses walking poles instead of fixed poles. This is a Ration 2. Again, very lightweight, 2-person tent, really nice. Everything goes into the dry bag, so this pitches as an outer and an inner first, whereas the MSR you have to pitch, generally have to pitch the outer first and then put the inner on top, which means if it's raining it may get wet. So horses for courses there. Which one do I prefer? I don't. I like them both for different reasons. As I said, this one uses the 2 poles, so I need to carry walking poles with this. Walking poles go down, put them up, and then we get the old-fashioned ridge tent kind of effect. Again, I use the same set of pegs for all of my tents, so I don't need to worry about which tent has got which set of tent pegs. It's just another version. Version number 3 is a Wild Country Zephyros 1. Now this is the tent that I would use if I was going out camping in high winds. It's a 1-person tent, it's much lower and it's much more of an aerodynamic shaped design. So this would be better off in higher winds. I'll talk about wind very, very briefly. Wind can be an absolute dangerous thing for camping walkers. If you pitch your tent the wrong way into the wind, or it's not designed for the wind, you run the real risk of your poles bending, your poles breaking, and the material of your tent ripping and your tent going with the wind. I hear stories of people who go onto mountaintops, etc., with perhaps the MSR, perhaps the Ration, and they're talking about 60-mile-an-hour winds. You know what? A 60-mile-an-hour wind, we'd be looking at some of the trees around me starting to come out, and we've got some very large trees. Certainly roof tiles and chimney tiles would start to come off and fly at 60 miles an hour. I'm always very dubious when I see people bragging on Facebook groups, forums, etc. about my tent withstood 65 miles an hour winds, etc. You can't walk in that, let alone do anything else. So take things like that with a big pinch of salt, and there's a link below to a blog that I've done. Anyway, Wild Country, again, lightweight, poles on the outside. This pitches as an inner and an outer together. The green bag goes on the inside of my rucksack. Pegs again. Now, I don't need pegs for the next bit. Every tent should come with a ground sheet. Me being the tight Yorkshireman and having multiple tents, I don't want to buy specific ground sheets for each tent, so I've made my own. Now this ground sheet is made with a material called Tyvek, which is actually for home use. It's a sort of a water barrier, water vapour kind of material. Very lightweight, very strong and completely waterproof. I made it specifically to work with the Hubba Hubba. That's a very expensive tent, and I didn't want to damage the under of the inner. These are guide tensioners, and it just so happens that the smaller hole here, or the medium size hole it is, fits the pole diameter of the Hubba Hubba. I would still take this out no matter which tent I was using, it just wouldn't fit perfectly, but nice and cheap, nice and light, and superbly strong. The last shelter system that I'm going to talk about is a Bivvy Bag. And I've got a couple of Bivvy bags, but this is one of the smallest ones that I have. This is an Outkit Hunker extra large, and a Bivvy bag is basically a shelter, and you literally do just put your sleeping bag inside and sleep in the stars. It's a lovely feeling to do that. It is possible to put a tarpaulin of some kind over you, and I'll do a video on that probably later on in the year when the weather becomes a bit warmer. If I'm a bit dubious about a tent, I might be testing a tent, or the rain is going to be torrential and I'm a bit dubious about the tent keeping the rain out, I might take this with me, put the sleeping bag inside the tent as a little bit of extra protection. But very lightweight shelter system, ideal for summer months really. Mountain tops if you can snuggle down between the rocks. So yeah, they're the shelter systems. Just a word on tents. Tents range from prices from £35–40 all the way up to £1,000–1,200. Thank you very much for that. Don't go out and buy a tent that's above your capability range. So if you're a brand new camper, a brand new walker, brand new to wild camping, buying £1,000 Hilleberg Solo won't make you any better as a wild camper. It gives you a false sense of security. You may end up pitching it in very unsafe conditions, not knowing what to do when the brown stuff hits the fan because you relied on the tent. And that's the same thing that I would say with all of the equipment. You slowly build up, you buy the cheaper stuff, you use it, you learn from it, you gain your experience, and then buy the more expensive stuff as your experience and your capabilities get better and better. I see a lot of people currently on the social media forums who've gone out and bought top of the range equipment, don't have any idea how to use it, and are potentially putting themselves in danger and other people such as mountain rescue in danger by asking pretty dumb questions such as, is it possible to camp at 60 miles an hour on the top of Mount Snowdon or Cadair Idris or Pennyvan using X, Y and Z tent? If you do your research, you will know that X, Y and Z tent isn't rated for that wind speed perhaps. Buy equipment to your capabilities. Next thing we've got is sleeping systems. So just like everything else, there's a wide range of sleeping systems from very, very cheap to very, very expensive, depending on where you're going, what you're doing, what your capabilities are, whether you're male, whether you're female, whether you're a warm sleeper or a cold sleeper. All of that detail is perhaps for another video. So this is just an introduction. First thing you need to think about is sleeping on the ground and a mat to protect you from two things. One, the hardness of the ground, and two, the heat loss you will suffer from the ground. So the ground will drain your heat away. So I've got a couple of options here. This is a really cheap one. It's a brand that I bought online on Amazon, Scotus. It's a blow-up one. I have no idea, apart from the comfort, and it is a very comfortable one, whether or not it will actually protect you from very, very cold temperatures. I would probably take this if it was very, very, very warm and I wanted a lot of comfort. It's a blow-up mat, so as every blow-up mat, you will also get some patches just in case you get a puncture. Moving on to the little bit more professional sized mats, we have this mountain equipment, and I think this is a Helium 3.8. So this is a semi-self-inflating mat. Let me just open it out for you. So it's just about 6 foot, give or take, and once I undo the valve and the air starts to go in, it will self-inflate. So there's a little bit of foam in there as well. This does give me quite a lot of protection from the cold and provides quite a lot of comfort as well. Looking at temperature ratings for mats, they use an R value as a way of measuring the thermal retention, as it were, or the thermal protection. This is a 3.8 mat, which is good for sort of the autumn towards the winter kind of months. You can use it in the summer, you can use it when it's very warm, absolutely no problems at all with doing that. However, you'll only start to feel the real benefit towards those colder periods. It's big, it can be quite bulky depending on how you slot it into your pack, but it's a very, very comfortable bag. My preferred choice is a much smaller one. This particular model isn't made anymore. It's a Therm-A-Rest Neo Air X-Lite, and again, unlike this one, this is completely blow up, so it takes me a good 5 minutes perhaps to blow the bag up. So I'll get to camp, pitch the tent, put the kettle on for a brew, blow the bag up. This gives me 4.2 as an R rating, so it's much, much better in colder situations, and as you can see, it's going to roll up into a considerably smaller size, which means that I can then think about using my bag to put other things, more food, more water perhaps. So it's that kind of experience and trade-off in capabilities and price and function of equipment and yourself that I'm talking about all the way through. This is about, I think when I bought it was about £160 worth of mat, and it's a fabulous mat, it really is, but it's damned expensive. This one is 20 quid. So they give you different variations. I would never use this in winter. I would definitely use this in winter. Because it's blow up, I've got some patches as well. And again, I can easily pack this away into its little pouch. Put the patches in, and that's part of my sleeping system. I'm not going to go into the pros and cons of Therm-A-Rest, mountain equipment, Seater Summit, X-bed mats, just not interested in that. Just, you're going to need a mat. So think about your budget, think about the size, think about you as an individual. If you sleep on your side, you maybe need a thicker mat than if you just sleep only on your back, because you've got more bones to stick into the ground, therefore you need more padding. Ladies generally don't have as much padding as men. You might need a little bit more padding in various places. Ladies also sleep a little bit colder as a gender, so females do sleep colder as a gender, so you might need to think about a higher rating mat than a lower rating mat, and a thicker mat than a thinner mat. Coming out from the mat, we've got things to actually put inside the sleeping bag to help protect it, and also to add a little bit of extra warmth. And I've got two here. This is a Seater Summit Thermalite Reactor Extreme. This is supposed to add 15 degrees to any sleeping bag. It possibly adds 2 to 3 degrees, but it's a very nice feel material when you're in your bag, and it does add a little bit of extra temperature rating to it. It also keeps down bags and synthetic bags clean. Cheaper option, possibly smaller, probably lighter weight, is just a really cheap material. This is silk. This is a silk liner. I think this is made by OEX, so you can get these from Go Outdoors in the shops or online. Again, adds a little bit of extra comfort, makes your bag easier to keep clean, because all of your sweat, your perspiration, the grease from your body goes onto these, which are easier to wash and dry rather than onto your bags. Last thing that I would recommend is a pillow. This is by Yokel of Sweden. I've used it, I don't know, about 18 months now, to be honest. It's not the best, but to be honest, I've yet to find a pillow that I actually do like. But you do need, and I'm a side sleeper, so I do need space to cushion my head. This blows up to about that big, that thick, and it gives me just that comfort anyway. So they're the mats, liners and pillow. What I'm going to do is clear these now and then talk about sleeping bags. So talk about sleeping bags to start with. I'm going to bring out two sleeping bags. They're both red. This is red with a blue liner. This is red with a red liner. Let's get this up. This one is a synthetic sleeping bag. This one is a down sleeping bag. There are differences in what you need to think about when you are thinking about wild camping and buying a sleeping bag, because there are pros and cons to each. Synthetic sleeping bags tend to be cheaper, and they will keep their heat retention even when wet. Down sleeping bags will pack down smaller. They tend to be lighter. Unfortunately, when they are wet, they lose the majority, if not all, of their heat retention properties. It is really important to keep these sleeping bags, the down ones, absolutely dry. One of the best ways you can do that, so even things like your sweat, your perspiration, can reduce the efficiency of a down, hence using the inners. Male and female will sleep differently with regards to body temperature. So just a little quick word on looking at the temperature ratings on sleeping bags. You'll have things like comfort, comfort limit and extreme. So just a bit of an explanation on there. Comfort, ladies, that's where you want to be looking at. So if you're a very cold sleeper, you need a comfort rating of maybe -1, -2, depending on where you're going to go. The comfort limit would be for the blokes. Blokes generally sleep warmer than women. The sleeping bag is rated a little bit lower for men. Be very careful about looking at sleeping bags like that. So certainly if you're a guy, when you're looking at sleeping bags, you're looking at the comfort limit. Ladies, you're looking at the comfort. And all temperature ratings have changed over the years. This synthetic one is a snug pack one. It's very lightweight. It's a Softy 3 Merlin, and for instance this doesn't have a comfort limit, it just has an extreme, but the comfort is 5 degrees Celsius, 41 Fahrenheit, extreme 0 degrees Celsius, 32 Fahrenheit. I would not use this in anything but a very warm summer's day. It's just too light. Put it with some of the liners that I perhaps have, put it with wearing full clothes, my thermal long johns, I might be able to get it down to 0 degrees with a good sleeping mat. I wouldn't trust it though. I prefer to sleep a little bit warmer, and I can undo the sleeping bag and vent the heat out rather than lie there shivering. This one is down, not quite sure what the temperature rating is. I think out of memory it was, comfort was 3, comfort limit was 0. Now a little bit on the extreme rating for all sleeping bags. If you look at the extreme rating, they may say things like -20, -26 degrees C. That will barely keep you alive if you need to have a sleeping bag in those conditions, and I mean barely keep you alive. You will still come out with hypothermia. You still may die as a result of that, but you won't die very quickly because of heat loss. You will just die very slowly. Never go to the extreme and think that's what the bag is used for. It's comfort or comfort limit. So this is great for, you know, sort of shoulder use perhaps. Currently weather that we're having, sort of chilly spring, this will be absolutely fantastic. This is much more of a summer bag. Let me just move these out of the way. I have another synthetic bag. Again, this is another snug pack bag, and this one is comfort is +7 degrees, and I think I must have had this 12-15 years. I think I took this out to Kenya with me when I did a 10-day safari out there camping in the bush. I didn't need a bigger bag than this. Excellent sleeping bag for what it is, but again, wouldn't use it in the autumn, in the winter, probably not in the spring either. And I definitely use it with a good mat. So then we come to a couple of other sleeping bags. Now, these are down sleeping bags, and down has to be kept uncompressed when you're not using it, because if you compress it all the time and keep it there, it loses that property, that heat property. So this is a Therm-A-Rest Questar sleeping bag. This is an OEX Helios EV sleeping bag. Both down bags, both compress really easily, slightly different temperature ratings on them. So this one is comfort is 3, limit is -3, and the extreme is -19, and that's a perfect way to explain about that comfort, limit and extreme. So this is suitable for ladies to 3 degrees, it is suitable for gentlemen to -3 degrees, and if you really need to have a slow death, it will take you down to -19 degrees. You will still get hypothermia using the sleeping bag at -19 degrees C. Hydrophobic down, which means it's been treated so it's water repellent to an extent, but I still wouldn't want to get a down sleeping bag wet. This down bag is by Therm-A-Rest, and the comfort rating on this for a gent is -6. I think it's -3 for a lady. Lovely sleeping bag. This works particularly well with my Therm-A-Rest sleeping pad. It has straps on, so it wraps around the sleeping pad and keeps it all together. I have a couple of these, so depending on where we're going, what we're doing, if you come onto one of my wild camping experiences, you'll be able to get a very nice warm bag. You'll get a silk liner as well, because washing down bags is an absolute pain in the backside. Please be careful about going out and buying sleeping bags. This cheap one might be rated to the same temperature as the OEX one, and OEX, by the way, isn't a high-end brand. It's a good solid budget brand. I would put the OEX one at, where are we, -3 degrees for a guy, over the one I bought on Amazon any day. Buy a good mat, buy a sleeping bag that fits your capabilities and where you want to walk. If you're only going to be a summer camper, go for a warmer sleeping bag. If you are going to go out in all weathers and you have the skills, the knowledge and the experience to do that at all weathers, and I'm talking about going on to the Brecon Beacons, perhaps into the Peak District, the Cheviots, Dartmoor, Exmoor, perhaps up into the Cairngorms in Scotland in winter, then yeah, you need to spend a lot of money on a good mat and a good sleeping bag. I would not use a -6 sleeping bag in winter on top of a Scottish mountain. I may start to think about using one of the synthetic bags inside this with a liner. Self-disclosure, although I'm not sponsored by OEX, they do make excellent bags. They get a lot of good feedback on the forums for these. A good winter bag from OAX would be the Leviathan 900. Apparently that goes down to about -16 and you'd still be comfortable. Just to give you an idea, I think the coldest temperatures that you'd normally get up in the Cairngorms in winter would be around about -16 anyway. And although I do love wild camping myself and I've got the skills, knowledge and experience to do that, it's not where I want to be. So I buy equipment that is suitable for what I want it to do, not for the extremes. Again, if you're starting out, start small, build the experience up. Don't be jealous of the fantastic photographs that people will post on social media of 3 or 4 foot of snow, the tent covered in snow, the temperature ratings of -10, 12, etc. if you don't have that experience. They may have just been really, really lucky to have survived in those conditions, because 99 times out of 100 people are not going to say, I lay there for 6 hours shivering my backside off and I got hypothermia as a result of it. They're just not going to do that. People don't like to admit failure. So take everything you read on the forums with a pinch of salt. Reach out, ask me any questions that you want, stick them in the comments, send me a PM, go onto my website www.dreamingoftheoutdoors.com, send me a message, look onto my Facebook page, Dreaming of the Outdoors, and I'm quite happy to help. So the next thing we need to think about is cooking systems. I've got a range of pots and pans, etc., but actually only 2 types of cooking systems. I've got gas stoves and some various gas canisters here, and I've got an alcohol stove. So first off, the difference between the two. Alcohol uses methylated spirits, alcohol spirits, goes into a little burner like this. Just undo that. We set it down. And essentially your pan of choice goes on top. Pretty slow, but very, very reliable. Pretty lightweight. I think that, when you start looking at how far you're going to walk, how many times you're going to use it, there's not much in it with regards to weight. These little bottles plus what's in would easily do me 4 or 5 days of just cooking my meals. It's a much slower way of cooking, so it makes you slow down, and sometimes that's really nice. You can enjoy the countryside, you can enjoy the views, you can enjoy the solitude of being on a mountaintop. So that's one system, that's the alcohol system. Now this is, just to give you people out there, this is an original Trangia, and I've had this God knows how many years, probably 20, 25 plus years I've had that. So it's an excellent little cooking system. Comes with a simmer ring, so I can decide basically how much or how little flame I want, and it's also good for putting the flames out. The other version is gas. So let me just put these away for the moment. Gas. What do we need for gas? We need 2 things. We need a gas bottle and we need the stove bit, the burner bit. So I've got several burners. The only one I've actually got available is a very small burner, and that's it. This is a BRS 2000 burner. It's a titanium burner. It's very, very lightweight. I think it's 25 grams, so really quite lightweight when it comes to burners. And I need a gas canister. Gas canisters come in different sizes as well. If I'm going to be away for a full week, I'll maybe take a larger one. This is a C300. If I'm only going to be away for a couple of days, I can probably get away with one of these. This is a C100, and they come in 100 grams, 300 grams, there's a 200 gram ones, but these are the standard sizes. I have a range of gas canisters. All of them do pretty much the same thing. I've not noticed any huge major differences between using this Highlander one to the MSR one to a Go Systems to a Jetboil to, which one's this? This is a Coleman Extreme, and this is a Coleman Performance gas. I've not noticed any difference at all. It's significant difference anyway. We take the cooker, we screw it on, make sure it's on tight, and there we're set up. Pot's on and we're cooking. These gas cookers normally take anywhere around about, on average, 3 minutes to boil a litre of water perhaps. A lot quicker than the Trangia. So you need a cooking system. As well as that, you're going to need a pot system of some kind. Now, you've seen me take stuff out of this little pot here, and they all come with their little bags to store them in. Chuck those to one side. So inside my pot would be my cooker. This is a collapsible mug. So that's one version of a collapsible mug. That's another version of a collapsible mug. A lighter to start the ignition. Now, some of the ones that you can get will have what's called a piezoelectric ignition, so you push the button, spark comes out and it works. I would still carry a lighter just in case that piezo ignition doesn't work or it fails. They're not very expensive. You can go up to, I don't know, 50, 60, 75 pounds all the way down to maybe 10, 15 pounds for these. So you've got to look at your budget, you've got to think about how much weight you want to carry, how much money you have, how big they are. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I always carry tea bags, and inside this pot is my canister. Now this pot is 750 mil. Put it on there and I'm hot to trot. I have a pot stand, gas canister stand, just to give it a little bit more stability. And it goes on like that. If I've got the option, I often dispense of these feet and I will dig a little hole just to get that gas canister settled down a little bit closer to the ground. So then we've got cooking systems. We need some pots to actually cook in. Various pots here. 750 ml titanium pot. This one is a 750 ml pot. It's just in a different shape. This one is 1.1 litres and it comes with sort of a little frying pan. All three of these are titanium. What the nice thing about titanium is it's very, very strong, very, very light. The two larger pots I can mix and match, and if I decide to do so and I'm going on a longer camping trip with a couple extra people, I can nest my pots inside. This last pot has been a bit of a stalwart for me. It's an 800 ml aluminium pot, well worn, well used and well burnt. Cheaper, probably not stronger, absolutely excellent for starting out. You can fit lots and lots inside one of these. Really, really easy to get your gas canisters, your cookers, your cups, your tea bags, your coffees, etc. in a pot that size, and it's not significantly larger, as you can see. Spoons, something to eat with next. I have a selection here. Just move these out of the way. Titanium long-handled spoon. Long-handled, you'll realise when we come to looking at some of the food options that you can have. Plastic spork, so the spork bits, there's a bowl for the spoon and a little bit of prongs for the fork. That comes in the army ration pack, so I'm just going to quickly show you. Good old-fashioned spoon that you've nicked from your kitchen, and a really small titanium folding spoon that will quite nicely fit inside some of your pans. The only other thing that I would go along with this is a windbreak. Now inside the windbreak bag I also carry my preferred spoon, which is a long handled titanium spork, and windbreak, and the windbreak would go around your stove to protect it from the wind. Pot goes on top, done. Reason I have the spork with the windbreak is to prevent the corners of the spork breaking into any of the bags or any of the kit, because these can get quite sharp. And that's it for basic cooking systems. Next thing you need to do is think about something to actually eat. So what I'm going to do is quickly clear this away and just introduce some of the different types of food that you can buy or perhaps make and take with you. So to go along with cooking, you also need something to eat. So I brought a couple of different options, as it were. The easiest options are boil in the bag, and they literally are what they say. You put these into the pots in boiling water, scrunch them up, boil them, and you wait until they are hot. They can be eaten cold, so if you run out of gas, your lighter doesn't work, it's too windy and you didn't bring a windshield, you can still eat them cold. However, after lots of years of experience of eating cold boil in the bag rations in the military, they're not very nice. So that one is sticky toffee pudding. This one is a tomato pasta salad. You can buy these individually, such, you know, Wayfarer from places like Go Outdoors. They'll come in different packaging, but essentially they are all the same. You can go onto eBay perhaps and buy a full-on 24-hour British Army ration pack. So this will have approximately 5,000 calories inside and will contain absolutely everything you need for 24 hours exertion, climbing mountains, doing your stuff. They are very heavy. So if you're going away for 3 or 4 days, carrying these is going to be a bit of a struggle. Inside each one of these are various other bits and pieces, as well as your main meals. You've got drinks, you've got snacks, you've got the spork that I showed you earlier, teas, coffees, wet wipes, chewing gum, dried milk. We've got waterproof matches in there. Things like snacks, so we've got nuts. These are also out of their Mexican sweet chili peanuts. If you can buy these in bulk on eBay, you can buy them, you know, the last time I looked, you could buy 10 of these for £100. It works out much cheaper. Their 24 hours will probably last most people about 2 days, to be perfectly honest, because of the amount of calories inside them. And certainly if you bring 1 or 2 of your own snacks, you can make one ration pack last 2 days. So yeah, value for money, fairly cheap. The other kind of things that we have are dehydrated rations, and I've got a few areas to show you here. So this one is made by Firepot, posh pork and beans, very, very lightweight compared to these. However, you do need to boil your water and pour them inside. So you strip it off, pour your water inside to the required level, seal it, let it stand, get your long handled spoon, now you know why we've got a long handled spoon, and eat it. This is a Cedar Summit pasta Bolognese, pretty much the same kind of thing. This one is a Blah Bland. I actually like this as packaging. It's not much difference in size, as you can see from the Cedar Summit or the Firepot. However, the aspect is different, so you don't need to get your long handled spoon, etc., so you can make do with a shorter spoon. But pretty much the same thing, pour your water inside and away you go. If you are looking at various dietary options and you are a plant-based person for your diet, I can recommend tent meals. They come in packaging like this, and all you do is empty this into your cooking pot, and basically you just put the amount of water in there, give it a stir, let it cook. Done. So that's almond jalfrezi main meal. That's 800 calories in there, so that's a lot of calories. This looks like this is a Moroccan main meal, 500 calories in there. Their breakfasts, by the way, their breakfast porridges and mueslis, absolutely superb. I love tent meal breakfasts. Again, lightweight, much easier to carry than the wet stuff. The other thing you need to think about is snacks during the day, so high energy snacks to keep you going, which is where the nuts come in. I always carry my high energy snacks for a day in another dry bag. So in here I have things like oat biscuits, wet wipe, nuts. I've got a high energy fruit drink. These are from military ration packs. High energy bar, high energy sesame bar, chewing gum, and another fruit drink. You can probably tell that I do like my snacks. I, on a personal level, do use a lot more calories. I've got a very high metabolic rate. I can easily go through 4,000 calories on a strenuous 24-hour walk. Other people can use 3,000 calories, other people can use 6,000 calories. And that's part of that experience level that you build up. So that when you're walking, yes, you carry more food to start with, but you learn how much you need, so that after a couple of weeks, after a couple of months, you know you don't need to take as much food because you're not using as many calories in the exertion levels. And that's a big learning point. People often take too much food, or they take too little food and they go hungry, they feel crap after they've woken up first thing in the morning, they've not had enough calories and they've got another 5, 6, 7 miles walk back to the car, and if you're not enjoying it, you don't want to come out again. But it's a learning curve, hence adventure experiences. So yeah, lots of different types of food, lots of different types of cooking systems. I can provide cooking systems, I can provide food for you, including the plant-based stuff if that's your choice, and that all comes as part of the adventure experience. So some of the odds and sods, the general items that you may need. This really depends on your experience levels as well. If you're quite new, I would get a high-vis vest. Always good if you need to call mountain rescue. If you're a little bit worried being on the mountains, you can strap it to the back of your rucksack, tie it to your tent, whatever. It gives people some easier options in finding you. So a really good safety item. Put that to one side. Another good safety item is one of these foil blankets. So this is really quite small blanket. I'm not going to open it out. Orange in colour. Basically you climb inside. It's silver inside, orange on the outside. You climb inside, keep you a little bit warmer than you should do. I always carry one of these if I'm going out for a day walk regardless. If I'm going out for multi-day hikes, I would still carry one of these just in case. So they're a good little piece of kit. Another excellent piece of kit is an ass pad. So this is something that you would fold out and use it to sit on, and it helps insulate your bum from the ground. It's also quite good to put your feet on outside the tent if you haven't got a full length or a full ground sheet built for the tent, so you don't need to get your feet dirty. So that's a really good piece of kit. I'm a big fan of buffs around the neck. They also make really good towels, lens cleaning, glasses cleaning things. Really, really cheap. You can buy them in packs of 6 from Amazon. Multiple uses on those. Sweatbands around your wrists, that kind of thing. So they're good. Torches, lights. I've got a couple of torches here. Really cheap torch, and it'll flash. A little bit more expensive torch, still does the same thing. This one has a red light, which is particularly good at night if you really want to remain a little bit more stealthy. And a very lightweight petzl torch. I've had this goodness knows how many years. Just pulls out and it's basically always in the rucksack. So a good torch is always good. A head torch is better. You really don't need ultra powerful 3, 4, 5, 600 lumen torches. As long as you can see 6 to 10 feet in front of you when you're walking at night, that's absolutely fine. Light can actually be seen a lot further away than you can see with a beam of light, and certainly if it's constantly flashing, and all of those head torches have a flashing mode, makes it a bit easier to find you again. Another thing I found really useful is a lot of my stuff is in bags, dry bags, and again you can buy these off Amazon. I have lots and lots of dry bags. A lot of the time I actually write on the side of the dry bag, so that's the Montane shirt that I've got for winter walking, and I'll put it in a dry bag, put it in the rucksack. I do use a rucksack liner inside the rucksack. Dry bags with all of my kit inside. Always been paranoid about getting things wet. There's nothing worse than being wet, having wet kit, so they're a really good thing to have. Coming on, wet wipes, absolutely fabulous for sanitation. Packs of 12, packs of 15, packs of 20, really small. Clean your face, your pits, your bits, your feet, makes you feel a lot better. They're good. Hand warmers, really fairly cheap, 99 pence for 2. These last 10 hours. You can put these inside your sleeping bag to give it a bit of hot water to give you a bit of extra warmth in them. Use them to keep your hands warm, put them inside your gloves. Really good pieces of kit. One of the best pieces of kit I will always carry, and there's always one in a trouser pocket, is lip seal. Getting chapped lips and cracked lips is very, very painful. Always use this. Coming up to a few other different pieces, I've got some spare clothes. Now, spare clothes for me for a 24-hour, 48-hour hike generally means a set of thermal long johns. I will use these to sleep in only. They are not to change underwear or socks, etc. They are only to sleep in. Depending on the weather, I've got a very thick pair of woolly thermal socks, so I'll take them. Hat, gloves and buff. Combination again in a dry bag. My glove of choice currently, and these are a bit expensive if you're just starting out, are these Montane Prism dry gloves. Fleecy lined inside, some of that high-tech synthetic material on the outside, very, very warm, grippy, and apparently waterproof. Tested them in cold conditions, not tested them in the damp though. But they pack up incredibly small. And then there's just a bog standard woolly hat and a fleecy buff again inside there. Getting the dry bag, put them in, squeeze the air out, give it a shake, turn it. Lovely picture you've just seen on my face. Clip it, done. Comprehensive first aid kit that I would carry. Bandages, plasters, tweezers, rubber gloves, tape, etc. All goes in there. As a general item. Water carrying, if you don't want to carry separate water bottles, you can carry a water bladder that will go into your rucksack with a pipe or a tube that comes out. So this one is 2 litres, so you'd fill it up, great big open wide nozzle to fill it up, and the pipe would then go through the rucksack, and then you can just quite happily drink from it as you're walking. I actually prefer for longer hikes to use separate water bottles for that, but you know, each to their own. Moving on, we've got last 3 bits and pieces. We have your poop kit, so your number 2 kit, toilet paper, plastic bags, hand sanitizer. Ideally, you should be burying your number 2s. I've got a little trowel that I use. You can use a tent peg, use your foot to dig a hole. Again, ideally you want to be going 6 to 8 inches down to do it. Do your business with your rear end. The paper goes into the plastic bags and you take it out with you. It's not as biodegradable as you might think. Unpleasant thing to talk about, and there'll be another video on that. If you can't dig the hole, plastic bags are also to carry your number 2s out with you. Hand sanitizer, been using it for years, always got bottles and bottles of hand sanitizer, so basically when COVID hit we were fine. Depending on how long I'm going for a walk, water is one of the heaviest things you can carry, with the exception of food. So I've got a little water filter here. Again, this is a Sawyer Mini. My preferred one in my own rucksack is a Sawyer Micro. They do the same thing. Dirty water in one end, clean water out of the other. There are videos on there, so a couple of bags there. Plus water purification tablets as well. Top of the rucksack I normally keep spare tent guys, really lightweight, really not bothered about the colour, but just in case one snaps or I need to peg them out extra. Always carry a map as well as potentially an electronic device, so I use OSGB electronic mapping as well. So these maps that I buy, code that I can scrape off, and then I will get the electronic map on my phone as well, the paper one. Paper comes first, electronic comes second, so always carry a paper map. At a minimum, compass and a whistle. I do very basic navigation techniques when we're out on the adventure experiences as well. It's not going to turn you into a super Antarctic explorer overnight, but it will help you, one, figure out where you're going and where you are and where you've been. The whistle, always carry a whistle. Doesn't matter whether you're going out for a couple of hours or a couple of days, a whistle is absolutely vital. My own set that I carry, I also carry a very small pen knife, so smaller compass, a whistle, and for those that think going out wild camping is about big knives and axes, let me just, that is the smallest blade, so you can see my length of my finger. That's the smallest knife that I would use. I don't need a larger knife than that. It's got a bottle opener, and I think it's probably got some kind of saw as well, and I just carry that around my neck all the time. And that is it. So a lot of that stuff I will loan you as part of your adventure experiences, but if you're going out buying your own stuff, thinking about getting your own gear together, I hope this video was useful for you. Please get in touch, more than happy to help.